Episode 503 of the TV Dudes, recorded August 31st, 2024. Centaurworld! This week we pre-recorded the show because I am in Scotland.
That's right, Les is in the land that helped invent TV.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, man. John Logie Bard. Look him up. Helped invent the modern television.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that's absolutely why I'm going then. Sure.
Well, while you're still here, let's get one under our belt and record a podcast. I'm Nick Tarr.
And I'm Les Tarr.
Oh no, you're comfortable Les, I think.
Comfortable Les.
No, I'm definitely a centaur, but if you're anybody,
I'm comfortable Les.
you're comfortable Les.
I can live with that. Comfortable Les. That's my name.
in my life, I thought I was the main character, but I was actually just a supporting cast.
And we are the TV Dude Tars. Well, no, we're TV Dudes. We're a pod tar.
Let's get this pod tar started. Oh man, no! I gotta adjust something. Let me shoot a little mini, little mini me. Go adjust the gain on that mic there. Why do I exist? Man, nothing of this reads.
Nobody watched Centaurworld.
I hope you watched Centaurworld.
Well, they should. There's no tuning question this week since it's pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm. No, we're gonna have to just pretend that you guys responded and interact with us.
We asked the best question we've asked so far. You guys came through, responded so well. We're gonna treasure it always, but we're not gonna share it with the world.
So let's just get right into the diaries, don't you think?
Yeah.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
This week, both Nick and I watched a few docuseries.
Yes, so it's the Diaries.
Yes, Diaries. A true crime against podcasting.
Well, that's how it all started, was American Nightmare, right?
Yes. American Nightmare, which was the quote unquote Gone Girl case.
Right.
With it happened up in Modesto, California.
Yeah, it's somewhere in Cali.
So the husband in this case wakes up, goes to the cops. His wife's been kidnapped, he says, by guys in wetsuits who pointed laser sights at them. His story is insane. I will grant
so
that his story is insane.
To give Vallejo PD the only credit I will give them.
The only credit you can give Vallejo PD.
But even then, what's his name? Aaron?
Yes, Aaron, the boyfriend.
The boyfriend. Even at the time, watching the interview, and of course it's a documentary that is, it
is very well structured across 3 episodes. At the end of the first episode, I was texted Fanny of well, obviously the boyfriend did it. I know he didn't because there's 2 more episodes, but obviously the boyfriend did this.
Well, and then the first episode ends with the girlfriend on the docuseries of hey, I'm
Denise.
Denise.
Yeah.
It's Denise. Yeah, my name's Denise, and oh shit, she's not dead.
Oh my god, she's not dead.
Just in case you weren't following it on the news, which but the watching him give the testimony during it, you can tell while he's saying it, he's like, this is so dumb.
I would have made up a more believable.
But he can't. But see, that's what he is the great example of the innocent. The innocent are fucked by the truth. They are chained to it no matter what the truth is.
Right.
Because he's and man. So the only thing I credit him doing wrong was God, I should know his name. Just Aaron.
Mm-hmm. I believe it is Aaron.
But the only thing I think he did wrong was, man, you should have lawyered up immediately before talking to the cops.
Same, yeah.
But then again, I know he just woke up. His girlfriend's kidnapped. He wants to do.
Man, and the way it goes down in the first episode, he's been in a taped up square on his carpet that he's been scared to leave for hours.
Right.
When he finally got bold enough. I mean,
well, they got a camera.
There's a part of him that is just banking, 50-50, 60-40, that leaving the square and going to the cops didn't immediately get her killed.
Right. There's no guarantee.
Yeah. And then from there, the incompetence of the police, I guarantee, is past whatever you think of cops. These cops are worse.
Dude,
and dumber.
I have a pretty low opinion. And even Vallejo PD is like, my God,
you're
man.
texting me while you were wild of like, so even for cops, these cops are like suck.
Like, but
like, yeah, man.
Like not an iota of curiosity or anything. And also the main detective, like, hello, I'm Detective Mustard. No, for real though.
No, but for real.
Who are these people?
Yeah. So, man, it's on Netflix. American Nightmare, I think, is absolutely worth watching. It is both a fantastically insane case that I feel like there's still got to be a 4th episode to drop somewhere in the next 5 years.
Well, they mentioned that there was throughout the whole thing, the cops keep admitting they were wrong about one thing, but no, we're right about everything else. Okay, no, we were wrong about that thing, but we were right about everything else. And they're now saying that we're pretty sure that dude acted alone,
right?
Even though both their testimonies have corroborated at least another person,
right.
if not 2 more,
right?
Like,
and yeah, that absolutely, like, well, you've been wrong about literally everything else you've said, so I don't know why we're believing.
So watching the docuseries, you'd have to like, no, there's more perps. The only way I could believe that there weren't more is that Denise and Aaron have told the truth exactly about everything else except seeing another guy. Like that point, he's a liar. No, that doesn't make any sense. Either you're lying about it all or not a particular part of it. Because if he was going to lie about some parts of it, he'd lie about the stuff that makes him look stupid.
Yeah. No, it was probably just a blow up doll in some pajamas.
When he's talking about wetsuits and stuff, you can see in his face that, well, I mean, this hurts me, but yet I can't lie, like, because
right after the new the $100 bills came out with the big picture, like early aughts, like it was one of the first big changes to money ever in my lifetime, where they looked it suddenly looked remarkably different. Had the ribbon in it for the first time and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
A coworker of mine, we were all working tip, hourly wage jobs. We weren't holding fucking hundreds very often. And a friend of mine had $100 bill, went to spend it, and like that night is bitching about how this kid in the store, wherever he was, would not take that 100.
Yeah.
Because he was like, this is fake. And my friend was like, man, so the point of counterfeiting would be to make it look like money you would recognize. Like,
right.
Like, what's more likely, that I'm trying to pass off like the worst Monopoly money looking counterfeited bill ever?
Right.
Or that I'm telling you the truth and these are the new hundreds. Please go get your boss. And like, he finally was just like, fuck it. I'll just buy cigarettes elsewhere or whatever. And like,
I didn't make them change the money.
Yeah,
God
so
damn it!
It's like, man, I didn't.
This wasn't any of this is not my thing.
And like, I felt like it's all I could think about. Like the whole time when the cops are like, so the wetsuit stuff. You understand how dumb this sounds? And he's like, I really do.
Yes,
man.
Nope. Get it. Sitting here,
I hear it. If I had made up a story, wouldn't it at least resemble some kind of true crime novel I would have read? This is dumb.
Like, man. And shouldn't you believe, from what I believe from The Rookie, criminals are dumb. Like,
right.
You should believe that.
It is.
What was driving me nuts was that the police, like, of course, they can just lie to you. So there's points in the documentary that they don't bring up that, I don't know, because of it's a legal thing. But they said, like, hey, we found blood in your apartment, so it's my job here to make you look like the biggest monster.
They can absolutely lie to you.
And I was like, they never come back to that. Like, hey, did they find blood?
Right.
Because if they went I don't think they went to the apartment, because some of his story can be corroborated by, hey, was there tape on the floor? Was there a camera?
Right. Well, they lie about, there's so many, like, I don't want to spoil everything for everybody. Like, there's so many things that the cops just flat out, like, they'll lie about the polygraph test. They lie about,
after they arrested him, I don't think they went back to his place.
I don't think they did. Like, if they hadn't both separately gotten lawyers that absolutely believed them, she got she got a good lawyer.
She's lucky to be fucking alive.
Oh my God. Yeah. Speaking of lucky to be fucking alive, well, no. Sorry, it was like, that made me think about, like, speaking of like people who got a lawyer at the right moment. Did you watch the Laci Peterson one?
No.
So, I did not. Do you remember the Scott Peterson trial at all?
No.
It'd be in the national news.
No, I remember not the trial. I remember
the search and all that
search.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think it was like the Christmas missing woman. Like
So I remembered this from the news. This is, I think, one of the things that like made Nancy Grace.
yeah,
But I didn't.
they showed Nancy Grace on the Gone Girl, like
Uh-huh,
it's like out of a
The
movie.
movie.
And I was like, so when you're watching a documentary and Nancy Grace tells you the thing she thinks happened, you know that's not it.
Right.
Like
right.
you know, like I don't know what else happened. I know she's wrong.
Right.
Though.
Like, but a stopped clock. No, I'm thinking even that clock's wrong. Yeah. So day after, basically, this is a news story that it was really crazy to watch in the documentary as they're talking to the local news folks that kind of broke it into a national story. And they're like, yeah, this is Modest, this, wherever that one was like, it's a little ways away. We wouldn't normally made this into a national news story, but
right.
It was the day after Christmas and
they got nothing else to
we
do.
got nothing going on.
Well, man, showing like that's the exact opposite of like, oh, thank God, like the news people made a big deal out of it. But the exact opposite for American Nightmare, because it was like, oh, it was a big salacious story, and at least some of the reporters there
we're flat out regretful later.
Right.
That was so crazy when those reporters were getting literally emailed shit from the
kidnapper. The kidnapper's like, hey, so she's not lying.
Like, I'm real, motherfuckers.
Well, I mean, it's so great that like Scott Peterson, I'm assuming got like did different treatment.
Yeah. So as far as I can tell, Scott Peterson absolutely
I'm here to report my missing girlfriend. Why'd you kill your girlfriend? Like,
yeah, which is absolutely what happens in American Nightmare too. So like watching these back to back, it was so like I really did start out the Scott Peterson one of like, well, these cops are gonna suck, and he probably didn't do it, and they're not even gonna look into where everything against him is circumstantial, but also every fucking thing he does is shady, and it's the exact opposite of the American Nightmare when we're like every next step is like okay, I can see how that could go that way, Scott, but this is the 12th time I've had to forgive you one of those. Like, he at the start of the series, that his wife goes missing on Christmas Eve, I believe, and it's neighbor finds their dog with the leash hanging on it, just running around the neighborhood. Like it really
like opening to a movie,
right?
Like
he's off fishing. It's Christmas Eve. He mixes up the very first time the cops talk to him. He says he was planning to go play golf and then went fishing. And that's one of the big, like, keeps getting brought up all the way through the trial, like big mix-ups. And I gotta say, if you're stressed and freaking out and thinking like you would after seeing any of these other documentaries, these cops aren't really looking for my wife. They're looking into me. I can see where you'd be distracted and might flub something. And if you flubbed it at the very first interview,
you're fucked.
You are fucked, man.
Well, I mean, man, if anyone's listening, lawyer up, baby. Like, you gotta, like, guilty or innocent.
And man, his lawyer's really, like, it comes out that Scott's having an affair. And his lawyers are like, while that's not great, that is actually not, like
people have affairs all the time.
We can survive that in the trial. Like, his reactions to all of this are, like, even his lawyer's like, it's that Scott just keeps lying about it.
Yeah.
Like, there, oh man, he like the timing on when he bought this boat and the things he said to his girlfriend, and like literally you keep reminding yourself throughout this 3-episode documentary that all of this is technically circumstantial.
Right. No, like he can go fishing on Christmas. It's weird.
Right.
He can but that's not
like
illegal.
His wife's 8 months pregnant. I don't know, man. The guy maybe wanted to get out of the house. Whatever. So he's a shitty husband and he went fishing on Christmas Eve instead of staying at home.
Can he order that lunch order right as he's informed of his
wife and child?
Sure. Yeah. That's not inherently incriminating. Like it's sure weird.
Like, can he be, like right before that incident, the police are having to follow him and take him into custody, and he's got his hair dyed and a goatee grown out and looks like Mirror Universe on the lamb, Scott. But he's definitely not running. And it's one of those, like, does the man have a right to dye his hair? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, so that was the Laci Peterson doc that is also on Netflix. We're obviously just crawling through Netflix documentaries here.
Mm-hmm.
There is also a Scott Peterson in his own words that is over on Peacock, and I've not watched it.
Ooh, that should be. Well, I mean,
because spoiler for the Laci absolutely is dead, as is their 8-month pregnant fetus, which watches up separately.
yeah, pretty dark.
So dark. And like,
Well, that's why they threw the death penalty at him, I think.
yeah,
right?
which eventually got commuted because again, he got the death penalty for a mountain of circumstantial evidence, but it's not actually a great case.
No.
Like it's
Well, like you you said they didn't find any nothing on the boat, like nothing on the.
As far as I know, at least from this documentary, they didn't, and this was not in Scott's corner at all. But they didn't find shit for evidence. It doesn't sound like it is a lot of damning. Where were you during this time?
Well, I mean, the dog being off the leash makes me think it's a crime of passion, but then why have the pre-plan to go to the boat? That's
Right,
so weird.
Yeah. And he drives 90 miles to get this boat in the water. Like it's so weird. Like he's the last person to see her alive. So the timeline could be as much as like 12 or 14 hours off for when she might have been missing.
Yeah, like he's got to either be the luckiest killer alive or the unluckiest innocent man alive.
Right. Like, and it was like the opposite of American Nightmare and so fascinating in a different way. And yeah, so totally separate from those, like those felt like mirror image, but very similar true crime docs. You and I both watched different, but shockingly similar Utah troubled teen camp documentaries.
Right. You watched the program.
I watched the program, which is a 3-episode docuseries made by a survivor of, I think, Ivy Ridge is what it was called. And basically it was a kid who spent like a year and a half when they were 15, 14 in this troubled teens camp that's fucking psychotic. And she's now a filmmaker. She got a film degree and she's now a filmmaker and made a docuseries looking into just the school she went to. Like basically she grew up to be a workaholic. And then at some point as an adult was that place fucking real? Like did what I think happened when I was 15 happen?
Sure.
And when she starts picking into it, it is the biggest shell game corporation shit. They run dozens of these nationwide. They obviously started in Utah, which for reasons we'll discuss in a minute. Not necessarily Mormon reasons. But like they basically discover just how big this organization is. And that's the thing that was shocking to me was like the 1-2 punch of, I didn't know these fucking camps really existed like this. They're wholly unregulated.
Right.
Their parents think they're real schools. None of the high school diplomas in the program are real. And watching one kid talk about figuring that out after applying for college was fucked up.
That's rough.
But they all, like, if your parents start to have doubts, the organization was big enough that they could put other parents on you in a like meet cute.
Right. They find another parent in your area
or in your industry or in your whatever, just to run into you and like, hey, I got a kid in that program too. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, no, there's real nerve, it's like the parents are going to like these like be great humans up with people kind of seminars that make them feel great and are literally there just to assuage their fears while their kids are just going through hell.
And their kids, like, the kids can't say anything because if they're being watched, and if they don't immediately convince their parents,
right? You have like a wink to 110% convince your parents that you need to be pulled out of here right now. Not ask a question about
right.
Don't raise a red flag. They literally have a piece of paperwork called a red flag form.
Right.
But and so at that point you can't wink because you can't open and close this conversation in one move.
Your only shot to getting out of here in any regular amount of time before you turn 18 is to play ball.
Right.
Because
so the one you watched was basically that, but smaller, just one psycho. Outdoors.
What shocked me about yours was like that level of intricacy was like, wow. No wonder they didn't get caught because Steve Carzano got caught a couple times. Having to just shut down
the guy in charge of the one I watched started out named Marvin Litchfield, and he's now called Narvin Litchfield. because they've shell corporationed this enough that he's changed his name by a letter, like you would do a shitty password.
Oh, wow.
Like he'll eventually be a Warvin or Parvin.
Steve Carzano had to change his name to Steve Michaels because people started to like wanted to send he was consulting on a school in Honolulu. Or no,
Somebody
in Samoa. It was Samoa, but the parents like started to hear his name and I'm like, wait, wasn't that fucking psycho dude that killed a girl in Utah? Because
so that's the other thing. It's like, far as I know in the program, I don't think a kid ends up dead. Their suicide rate is like 40%, which is fucked up. But
it was just yours was a school, at least. There was a building.
Right.
Hellcamp was just, they kidnapped your kids in the middle of the night.
Yes, both of these, I can't stress that enough. Can kidnap in the middle of the night. Paris Hilton got handcuffed at 4 a.m. and dragged out of her fucking house.
Yeah, it's part of the psychological game or whatever, and your parents sign your fucking rights away. And
so they got kidnapped, and those kids, Hellcamp kids,
just get dragged into the middle of the desert and just go on hikes on there's food. There's 10 miles until there's food, and then there's another 10 miles until there's water. And the heat of that desert, the local authority, the sheriff, was talking about from around. We're for the locals around here. We have a respect for that desert. That desert is very dangerous. It is unseemingly so because not a lot of people die in it, because not a lot of people go in it. There's nothing to do in there.
Right. Statistically, it doesn't look deadly, but that's actually because we have sense enough to not go there.
Yeah, the reason not a lot of people have died is because most of the locals, we don't go in there, or we know where the water spots are and know how to hydrate, and they have kids that are, man, troubled kids is just a fucking that's just a nothing term.
Right.
Some of these kids are just sedentary couch potatoes.
Right.
That aren't listening to their.
Some of this shit's tax money.
Yes. And $16,000 they paid this woman so that her child could walk on a 10-mile hike, suffer heat exhaustion, and die.
Yeah.
And he gets off on that. They at least shuts down the camp. The kid dying shuts down the camp. So at least there's that. I would still consider that a failure.
What was the lawyer that's helping? You'd said where somebody pointed that out to them, that, hey, well, at least the camp got shut down. And no. I always knew that a kid dying.
It was the sheriff.
It was the sheriff.
Yeah.
No, of course a kid dying got the camp shut down. I always knew that would get the camp shut down. We were hoping to shut it down without a kid dying.
Yeah, I wanted to shut it down when we first saw the kid that got dragged
by the truck
about a half mile.
Oh my God.
And scraped up his back, because this kid was like...
It is a miracle he did not die from that.
No, his shit was infected. They laid him out in the desert for hours.
If that'd been a paved road or something, he'd be dead.
Man, honestly, the dirt might have helped him out.
It may have.
And considering
the only reason I know that is because there's a Texas town that did that on a road, and it absolutely killed that man.
Right? At least it was a desert, so at least on the desert they probably had sand and dirt helping cushion.
The town of Jasper did not do that. 2 people in Jasper did that.
The town just allowed it to happen.
Small town.
The
whole town of Jasper sue me for defamation.
It's a small enough town that we all saw it from our windows, but and we're all like,
honestly, that was horrible. That was pre-dawn on a Sunday morning, and they left it to the foyer of a front door of a church.
Man, and he's got a slick lawyer that helps him beat the death in Utah, but at least that camp's shut down, so he has to open up a new one in Panama, and it's now a cruise setting, and he's tricking affluent families into sending their kids there for even more money. His strategy was let's go and lie bigger and ask for more money this time around.
Yeah.
And I think they finally got him, though.
But the lack of legal oversight makes these things like whack-a-mole, where like you said, this guy can be in Samoa consulting on another school, and it's not anything illegal it's just parents Googling him that got him figured out on that. And so that only gets you shut down, but that means that if you have enough resources and stuff, you can just pop up somewhere else. It's the
legal system having a different rule set for anyone with money,
Mhm.
because anything that's monetary is just like a price he has to pay, and if it's not more than it costs to run that camp, he's still going to do it and just pay the cost.
Mhm.
You know, it has to result in jail time.
No, it's like the Fight Club equation of like, we look at how much the recall would cost versus how much the settlements would cost from the accidents.
So like
Yeah.
anything that's not jail time is just not going to work for these people. Like,
Right. Yeah. In the program, somebody points out that these schools, once the building's built and the land is owned by one of the shell corporations, the functioning cost of the school is like all the labor cost is basically borne by the students as part of the quote unquote education curriculum. And then he stops. He's like, so yes, if you run a school, but you eliminate most of the cost drivers of running a school, schools are profitable. I was like, shit. Yep. So
if you run restaurants are hard, but if you can find a way for the patrons to pay and not feed them,
right, then yes. Oh, have you
Man.
figured it? Boy, you're gonna make money hand over fist. And like it's a miracle that the kids
honestly,
in the program,
that's just a casino,
right? They find their old school and it's just abandoned, and all the like abandoned like a con in a movie where they come into the warehouse and it's just a bunch of phones on the ground. You know, like it is that level. Like the desks are still there, like like there's still fucking furniture there. All the files are still there, so they're just pulling out like 30,000 kids worth of, like a crazy number of files of like every infraction, every stupid, hey, here's a piece of paperwork showing that I lost points and got demotion because I looked at the window. Or I spoke to another, I used my voice out loud.
Wow.
Like it's like the kid in the program that goes to jail for something and they run into him again and they're like, oh my God, how is jail? Yeah. And he's like, jail was the best.
Jail rules,
Jail was so sweet. He's like, I could look out the window. I could talk to people.
You know what I appreciate about jail? All the personal freedoms.
All the freedom. It's like, fucking hell.
God damn, dude.
Also, both of these, I haven't watched Hellcamp yet. I plan to, but I imagine both of them probably discussed, the program did, the time dilation of youth. Like when you're 13 to 18, 12 to 18, time felt different. Like empires rose and fell in 6-8 week spans and shit. Like half a year when you're 14, the difference in 14 and 15 feels like a world away in your life.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not saying that it's okay to like take an adult and have 20 years of their life vanish in prison or whatever, but I feel like having 2 of the years between of your teen years gone is a bigger hole than losing like 5 or 10 years later in your life.
A lot of formative stuff, a lot of friends you could make, a lot of experiences you can have. Yeah, like there's a lot of condensed life you live as a teenager.
One kid gets out and talks about like the sheer amount of culture shit that they missed in like by missing the year like 2001. And like if you went in before 9/11 and came out after.
Hellcamp I watched, of course, and I'm sure in yours they encourage narking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the girls that they're amazingly still talking to, and she's like, I don't remember signing so many of these, and like her signature's on so many.
Because they had a dude on one of ours that was part of a woman in the Panama one got sexually assaulted, and he was like, I was part of and if you have the kids beat another kid up, it's not child abuse because the counselors aren't doing it.
Right.
It's a workaround. And he's like, I wasn't part of that. I was part of the tying her to the post and then standing guard, tying her to the post.
Oh my Lord.
But I was, it was to a 14 or 15-year-old, like to a 14-year-old having the prospect of being there until you're 18. And some of them weren't even getting let in the Panama one. I'm 18 and they won't let me leave. I'm on a ship. Where am I going to go?
Right. You're like pressed into service here.
So his 4 years then 14 to 8, that feels like you'll do whatever you need to do to get out. And so he's like, I don't think she but I don't think she held it against me though. Like I'm just doing what I needed to do. And then they show her like telling that same story. Like, so how did you feel? How did you feel about that his behavior there? Like I felt betrayed. Like
A little bit.
and I felt really betrayed.
Little
Like I feel like, man, I don't want to. Also good on like. Kind of not so good on the documentary of like getting involved and like, oh yeah, he said this. Like, but
would you say you spit on all their graves or just the like?
Yeah,
this is going to be a vengeance tale,
and
right?
Man, these places are still going. This story does not have a happy.
Dude.
Like Steve Carzano is done,
right? But like
this
I said,
this is a cottage industry.
Any of these schools where the building is still standing. If the building is still usable, if there's not like a serious mold problem or something, they get the health department in there. There's probably a new school like it's like Umbrella Academy. I'm sorry, Sparrow Academy. I'm sorry, Phoenix Academy. I'm sorry, but like
they have alternate dimensions. Right. Like yeah,
but there's
taking a train.
There's I mean, I guarantee there's some kids in the New Mexico or Utah desert right now.
Yeah,
like weirdly, I'm not sure. I'm sure she's not done. I feel confident saying she's not done enough, but I know Paris Hilton did help. I think put some weight behind.
She did some
getting some like restraint laws passed in Utah. Like they can still kidnap you in the middle of the night if your parents sign it away.
Right.
So you can do that in Texas. But it would be technically illegal for them to not put you in padded restraints on your bed. It's something. Honestly, it's small fucked up shit.
Honestly, what's fucked up about it is that there's definitely more you can do about it, but there's a certain level of because you're a child.
If your parents
sign away your right, and a lot of this is in response as your parents have more control over you than you think they do.
Right.
Like your identity, your legal standing as a person is dependent on them.
And there's this weird blurred gray area between cult recruitment tactics and corporate private school profiteering. Like somewhere between charter schools and cults that these businesses operate in, where like in the program the kids keep getting kind of shocked by realizing how hard the company worked their parents.
Yeah,
because they're like, by the time your parents have signed a thing, some of these kids' parents did just suck, but and like when they meet them later are like, I still think we did the right thing, but a lot of them, you can tell the parents had been really worked to a point of being told, look, we deal with troubled kids all the time. I'm looking at what your kid's done, and I'm telling you, I've seen it a million times. They will be dead within a year.
They're gonna overdose
and so if you are 100% sure that on this current track your child will die, anything they do, and they explain that like, hey man, your kid's in real trouble, they're not going to voluntarily go to this, so we're going to have to take them,
and they're not going to like it. They're going to complain to you, and like they're talking about the dad, like they won't allow us to talk. I just thought she meant like during
lights out or something,
or like
meals,
because your brain will fill in for, to make you not like, because otherwise it's accepting that you've done something monstrous to your kid that you can't take back.
Yeah. And even if you bring it up, like they're going to immediately counter with like, well, I mean, they're over exaggerating, or if they're not over exaggerating and you get proof, they'll be like, well, they're alive.
Yeah. Well, except not a lot of them are. There's a lot of suicides.
It was crazy. Yeah.
And when you take that into the point of the only way to prove to your parents that they wronged you, if their mind is that you're alive, that's no wonder the suicide rate is bad.
Yeah. Most of the kids, their parents really cannot sit with what they did. And a huge part of it is that like, well, look, I know you're still hurt about it, but I saved your life. And that sucks as a place to do it. But there's one kid who talks about how much it ruined his relationship with his mom from the opposite direction.
Because
she fully got, like, she saw the difference in him before and after, and like, oh God, we fucked up. And he said it was the only conversation we had from there on out for the next 40 years of her life, 35 years of her life, and then she died. But every single time he saw her, even on her deathbed, she cried and apologized. He's like, she cried every time I saw her for the rest of my life. At some point, if I spent an hour with my mom, this was going to come up. She was going to apologize and cry every fucking conversation. And so that like all his adult birthdays, every single time he saw his mom, this camp came up. And like, I don't think I'd ever considered it from that direction. I want to watch Hellcamp just because this was jaw dropping.
Yeah.
Like
That one's a movie, so it's not.
yeah, it's a movie.
long.
The program is a 3-episode series. They're both on Netflix, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you can't believe I'm eager to watch Hellcamp just because it is, as far as I know, wholly unrelated to the Litchfield school empire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yet they stumbled upon basically the same con.
Man, it makes me think that those two aren't even the only entity. Like, there's even more.
That's exactly what I started thinking, was like, shit.
These are just the two we had evidence on, like, or that we had enough to do a documentary on.
Right. Yeah.
The other one was easier though, that I watched, because I also watched the Muscles and Mayhem.
Oh, that's right.
An unauthorized story of American Gladiators. There is an authorized American Gladiators doc.
I bet that's not nearly as fun.
And I'm not sure how that one is. I'll have to check it out.
It sounds like I'm not saying it's Scott Peterson in his own words, but
because this one's mainly from the Gladiators are giving the interviews. Our Gladiators. There's a couple. There's the director, and then there's some producers on it that help create the show. But
you said basically, like, if you think wrestlers are getting rat fucked, these guys.
Right. The director. I mean, he's a piece of work. He's like Dan Schneider level. Like, he had dildos in the operating room for the, like, he's off of saying that, like, oh yeah, me and Diamond went on a date, and like these documentary creators are definitely stirring shit, because they're like, he said what? Like, they are not being, these filmmakers are not being objective at all. They are like,
well,
hey,
why don't we just cut right back to a testimonial?
Not only that, they're taking stuff from the other dog, like, oh, he said this. Like, okay, sure, okay.
That's great. Yeah, you said somebody like that. Some of them are like, there were no steroids at all, and they were just like, there were steroids everywhere. What the fuck?
I think there was, like, everyone admits, like, there were steroids, but the discrepancy was how open they were about it. Like,
there were just needles everywhere.
There was needles everywhere. Like, there weren't needles everywhere. Calm down. We were definitely all doing them though.
Or you said one was like, well, okay, technically, what do you mean by steroids?
Right. Well, man, what was it? I think Zap or not was, God, their names are awesome.
American Gladiators.
But I think Zap was like, yeah, so we all said we were off steroids, and so, some, like, and it's not lying if you, for me, because I was on HGH or like human growth hormone, and which is a anabolic steroid or a synthetic steroid, and like, so that's not a steroid. So I wasn't lying. Like, man, if you got to do all that fucking
right,
like, you're on it though, man. And the guy that plays Nitro, he is the cut up of the crew. Him and Gemini are like Gemini and Ice are like the main three to watch for, because they're great together. They had he went down to Mexico to get steroids and ended up having the cops pointing guns at him, and he didn't stop doing steroids after that. He's like,
commitment to the bit.
Hey, you didn't stop doing steroids after that? No, I had to go back get some more. The cops confiscated my steroids. Nitro is a trip, dude. He
may have to watch this.
He's talking about how he took Ice home one time, and like it was one of the female gladiators, and it was like, hey, give me a piggyback, I'll give you a piggyback or whatever, like, to show how strong he was, I can lift you up. And she starts to squeeze his ribs until he passes out on the sidewalk and, like, unconscious. And he's telling this story, and it's a pretty good story, but one of them is like, what? Okay, I don't remember that happening. And then I'm like, okay, he's an exaggerator, and kind of he talks a lot and he talks fast. You feel like he's might be mixing stuff up and embellishing a little bit. He talks about with his buddy who played, not Titan, another dumb name they all had, but
right.
But Laser. This one was Laser. he was Laser. Fucking awesome. Him and Laser are tight. They knew each other from before.
Okay.
And when they needed a replacement gladiator, he was like, my buddy, my roommate, is a jack dude. Let's go get him. He tells a story about how they got into a fight in a car ride over a song because of roid rage. They were like, man, if you don't think roid rage is a thing, we stopped this car and started to kick the shit out of each other until he bit me in the face.
Holy fuck.
And so
what was the song?
So I kicked him in the balls, and like it was cut. Well, I don't know what Nitro was listening to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Okay.
And Laser wanted to listen to country music.
Okay.
They were very specific. Like, I don't
if only Lil Nas X had existed.
And they were like, and they cut to Laser and like, oh yeah, I bit the shit out of his face. Like, Laser backs up that story 100%.
We're like, you've been suckered into thinking like Nitro's probably exaggerating. He didn't get bit in the face. Oh yeah, I bit that motherfucker in the face.
And you know what he did? He was like, oh here, like help me up after we like and then Nitro like is like it grabs him to help him up, and I'm like, this is for biting me, motherfucker. And then he nails him to the ground. And he's got a huge black eye from getting like, so they go to a diner.
How is there not an American Gladiators movie?
And so they go to like some Denny's or whatever that they're just bit and bleeding. Like, man, no one's gonna let us in like that, man. We're American gladiators. So they're gonna let us in.
Like we're each the size of the door.
The only discrepancy with that story is they can't decide who won the fight.
Amazing.
That's the only thing they quibble over.
Man, I want the Dirt style, like unreliable narrator documentary movie. Like this is.
It's pretty. Well, because the only thing that wouldn't work about it is that maybe Nitro, you could do a story about Nitro because he has ups and downs and he has like health problems. Mm-hmm. But the gladiators are really cool. They're really cool to each other. They're a big family, and Ice and a lot of the female gladiators are gay, and we're open about it during the show. Not on screen, but behind the screens when they were partying, when they were on tour. None of the dudes were shitty about it. Like Ice tells a story that they were challenging themselves who could take this girl home in when they're on tour. And she goes, yeah, so all the little boys and stuff, they're making this thing of like, you're really fighting over who's going to take this girl home. How childish. Mm-hmm, and I told them so. And, so they tell this girl to meet them at this bar or whatever, and she doesn't show up. And they all commiserated that night of like, oh man, I cannot believe she showed up. Like none of us won. That sucks. Mm-hmm. Like how like a shitty end of the night. And so the next morning they're in the hotel room getting ready to go on the thing. And Ice goes like, oh yeah, I knew we all met at 10 o'clock in the morning in the lobby. So I knew where everyone would be at 10 o'clock. So I made sure that I came out at 10 o'clock with that girl on my arm. Having spent the night so that they could all watch me do the stride of pride and have her leave, and
right.
and Nitro and all. I'm like, oh god damn it, Ice. Apparently she did that a lot.
That's amazing.
Ice was pretty popular with the ladies.
I would put the team behind the Weird Al biopic on it, and I'd have them solve a crime and fully admit that like, look, it just wasn't that exciting. We were actually pretty cool to each other.
The thing you could do about it is that the network totally did fuck them. They made a contract in perpetuity to like, they got paid that forever.
That's it.
Like there was no opportunity for raises or points or like shit on the back end.
Like if we go watch some American Gladiators right now, Nitro won't get a check.
They didn't get any They didn't get money from merchandising, even though they all had toys and stuff. They didn't see anything from that. And this is the point where they show the producers and one of the female producers especially, where they're like, oh yeah, I'm the one that came by and made it everything. And it was a really rinky-dink production at first. The first episode was like not safe at all. They didn't have any money. They played it on a fucking concrete ground. Mm-hmm. And it was expensive. It was an expensive show to do all the setups and all, and especially expensive to take on tour. It was like a 8 to 10 bus tour. Mm-hmm. And the guy that was doing the tour was like, man, that's fucking Rolling Stones tour.
Right.
Like that is huge. It's hard to break even with that amount of, of cost. And they were like, oh yeah.
Like if you're trying to take a physical 100 road show.
The female producer was like, yeah, I mean, they didn't get paid a lot, but they signed what they signed. Like she just is very callous about it.
And you've been in that industry too long, lady.
And all the American Gladiators they were talking about like, well, I made $500 a show, and that was about it. Like we made a little bit more on tour because we got expenses and stuff, but even then they it's expensive to feed
If-
bodybuilders on a tour.
Like if part of your like, no, well, I'd make more money on tour because they'd give us $10 a meal per diem and I would eat ramen. Like that does
No.
not count as your salary, brother.
Well, also if anyone got hurt, they just got replaced.
Yeah.
There was no
Loyalty or yeah.
anything. Malibu, I loved him when I was watching it as a kid. He's only in the first season.
Wow. Yeah. Because
he takes a huge hit. I remember watching it as a kid. I remember this hit he took from the human cannonball. And he falls himself and folds over and has a knee hit him in the face and cuts his eye open. And like the doctors say, like, hey, you got a concussion. If you go back,
we can't insure you. Or
there's no guarantee you wake up next time.
Oh, damn.
Like he took a really hard hit.
Have you ever landed and hit your own knee on your head? Have you ever done that?
I did get knocked out. I was knocked unconscious from a soccer ball hit him in the face one time.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get knocked unconscious the one time that I like landed and like did not realize how fast your body would fold in half.
Right.
Or that I was quite flexible enough for my knee to hit me that squarely in the fucking face. Like it did knock me out, but it definitely, I looked like I got punched. The only time I've ever been knocked out was learning how to get out of a full Nelson. Like somebody's, bullies like laced up your arms. I was in a self-defense class and learning how to, and like definitely got out of it, but clocked it, like knocked my head into the other dude, and we both would knock both of us out.
Right. Well, that's the problem with hitting a guy with your head is that it's your head.
It was like literally like both of us woke up.
Oof.
Like fuck, man. Shit.
Man, they originally had more muscle builders versus them, which one of the female producers her contribution is like, oh yeah, I made it a David versus Goliath thing. I found regular people to go up against them.
No. Yeah. Like immediately you can see the problem there.
Yeah.
Of like, no, I don't want to watch. Who was that giant dude just made a circles on Physical 100 in that recent season?
Yeah.
I don't want to watch him go up against American Gladiators. Like I want to watch like this dentist from Boise, Indiana.
Yeah, the Gladiators were kind of bitching of like, man, so not only are they all unsafe, but a lot of so that they could win and contestants could win money. They made a lot of the games based around speed, which is one of the things. I mean,
we don't have.
We're fast for our size. For how big we are, we can surprisingly move pretty fast.
Right.
But we're not going to move as fast as, say, the professional cyclists they brought in to win everything.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, there's just a different set of and there was the jousting thing. They taught the contestants how to joust and not the gladiators.
Oh, that's funny.
So they ended up starting to win way more often because even though they could hit harder, the other people knew how to do it and where to hit them. And they went to the drill instructor and like, hey, can't you teach us some of that? And the drill instructor did not respect them at all.
Didn't show them how to. And
suddenly, so one of the female gladiators comes by and is like, I just want you to teach some of that. I was like, okay, I'll come by later. And I guess he thought it was a date or something because he was mad that I brought my brother to come help learn with it. And he's like, oh yeah. So and then all the way like 3 episodes down later, it also mentions that like, oh yeah, I'm married to Sarge now. And I was like, oh, come on, that's a fun story.
Right.
What a fun little story. I'm actually, it kind of worked as a surprise here. So maybe that's why they did it. But you can sort of see a movie being formed here with
right,
like,
with some of them.
Maybe, how they used to do like an SNL cast worth of like people. And I could see a ensemble comedy with all these people with like Nitro or Gemini being the main two.
Right.
And then, Ice being played by Charlize Theron.
Right. A little bit more like Glow, but instead of being scrappy people off the street in an audition, these are already like more of a formal show.
I don't really normally, I'm not huge into documentaries, but like I got the bug after Nightmare, and some of them are like, Hellcamp was not quite as good as American Nightmare, but
I can't stress enough how well structured American Nightmare is to lead you through the emotional journey of this crazy shit.
Right. Like
really well done. And yeah, I don't feel like the program was quite as well structured. It's just jaw dropping what it's about. And yeah, Hellcamp was a little harder to sit down to. I just haven't yet because it's a single hour and a half movie.
Right. The American Gladiator one's pretty fun. I'd highly recommend it.
I definitely want to watch that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Gladiator Arena in Los Angeles, California, here are your American Gladiators. Ice, ice, baby! Jive! Blaze! Do the thunder shake! Storm! Laser! Disaster! Power! Violent! Nitro!
Should we move on to our main subject? I suppose we should mention our Patreon first.
Yes.
So if you donate to us on our Patreon at tvdudes.com/Patreon.
Nope. Patreon.com/TVDudes.
Oh, I messed it up. You throw down a bucket episode and get bonus content for each week.
Yep.
So you for $1, you get double the pod. Or for $5 and up, you get a review of your show read on the pod each week.
For $20, you can tell us what to watch.
That's a showrunner level.
Showrunner level. So after I'm back later on in September, we will have I think we've got a new showrunner pick from both Jean-Paul and Danny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I know about the Danny one. I don't know if I know John Paul's pick.
I believe John Paul wants us to watch Average Joe.
All right.
Which looks fun.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
But first, this week on the Patreon, what are we listening to this week on the Patreon, Nick?
We're going to have a special Beck-to-Beck episodes of... I recently introduced you to the Becky franchise.
Yes.
With Becky and Wrath of Becky.
Yes. So, oh my God. These movies are great. Our chats about them are hilarious and fun. I had a blast both watching them and talking about them. Shit, we watched Wrath of Becky twice.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a treat. Cool. I'll have to check those out while I'm overseas. But for the main course this week, we're talking Centaurworld.
Hello.
What is happening?
No.
Did I just say things with my mouth? A new friend?
Oh.
Where am I?
You made it to Centaurworld, and nothing better represents our world than this colorful collection of singing and dancing, half animal, half man things you're meeting here today.
This thing right here, this is part of a key, and you'll need all of them.
This all sounds like really complicated.
Not so much complicated as it is dangerous.
I don't like it, but I have to do whatever it takes to get back home to Ryder. Oh, I never fear the drums of war. Crush the storms and I want more.
We are all
Just
fragile things softly small, and haven't been here
can
before.
fight for yourself.
Outside can harm you,
Fight by
reject you,
yourself.
and I will protect you.
You know what is locked in there. What were you thinking? You're going to be the undoing of this whole world.
So say bye to the old and hello to that rainbow
I was really wondering how we were going to segue from the darkest documentaries ever to Centaurworld, and at least American Gladiators kind of injected a little silliness back into it. Because otherwise, damn.
Well, I know those documentaries are relatable, but are you comfortable to talk about the world of the Centaurs?
Well, and I guess in fitting, it's fitting. Centaurworld starts out dark.
Yeah.
Angular hardcore apocalyptic war with the Minotaurs.
So yeah, you saw me like put it on the preview on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it was a fun scene later in season 2, I think, talking to like where a bunch of Adventure Time
They're
soft
crying
soft
rainbows
animos.
and
Yeah.
Wammawinks hugging somebody.
So the first episode starts like the war started. The war started before I could remember. I lost my mother to the war. I lost my father to the war. I only have one friend left in the world, and that's Horse. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going? It kind of looks like She-Ra or He-Man, like but
it looks really good.
but with an anime twist to it. So it's kind of like more Voltron and She-Ra than
and so we meet Ryder and Horse.
Right, which are their actual names. It realized later. Like before, you think in season 1, you think that might just be a metaphor, you know, like Horse has a name. It's just Horse knows
Horse
itself
just
as Horse.
doesn't know it.
And then Ryder must have a name. Horse just doesn't know what it is.
Right.
In season 2, they go to the human world or whatever. Like, nope, that's Ryder and Horse, and that's their names.
Lost your parents real early. Named yourself Ryder because she had a horse.
They named each other.
Right. Like babies just know how to drive.
Anyway, some pretty impressive action sequence follows with a pretty heartfelt song. Like they see their village being pillaged and destroyed, and Ryder sings a song to Horse in order to calm her down to walk through this just desolation and fire. And it's you can tell like it's their calming song. And so so you get the feeling that that's what she sings in the world, like that world isn't musical. It's just a thing that she sings to her
There's
horse.
a lullaby that she sings. Yeah.
And you could, man, if you wanted to get real dark with it, you could be like the horse's Jacob's laddering as when it falls off the cliff, and it's just remembering, it's just accessing things that like, well, when were the times I was most comforted when Ryder sang to me? So she's really, but then
God.
I'd think your dying mind wouldn't bring up such annoying characters.
Right. But yeah, that and that song is genuinely sweet. Like it is Disney sweet.
You're okay. You're all right. I'll never ever leave your side. I will stay and I will fight with you.
She gets transported into another world, Centaurworld, that is everything's a centaur. Everything has like a horse type body, or at least another animal body with a bipedal top.
Right. and Horse goes through this rift, but Ryder does not, so they get separated.
And that place is silly. It is Adventure Time. It is Pickle Rick level of
like
random,
silly, aggressively weird. The show is drugs, man.
So, and it's so weird, and yet when the emotional moments hit, it really hits, because even you saw that first episode, and then you caught the last episode
of season 1
of season 1 where I was watching it, and Ryder, like Horse is now changed from the Centaurworld,
right?
And Ryder doesn't recognize her, and suddenly
Horse looks like two beach balls had a weird kid.
Horse now sings the song back to her that now that she can talk, and to so they can recognize each other again.
You're okay. You're all right. I'll never ever leave your side. I will stay. I will fight
with you.
And it is Fievel somewhere out there level.
It really
I got
hits.
chills, and like and I caught it immediately. I looked at you and was like, so being in Centaurworld changed Horse, and now Horse is scared, and like you get it immediately, and it makes such an amazing theme for a show. This made real idea that did growing up, did your journey, did whatever while you were separate from someone you loved. Did you change too much for them to recognize you?
To do what you needed to do to get back to this person.
Yes. Did you become something that's not recognizable to them?
Right.
It's beautiful.
And
like it is real, and it really works. Like
and
it is a
and
chest
unlocks
punch.
that scariness as a kid of like that, just this fear you can feel in Horse, and then when it's relieved, it really hits. And you didn't even have the context of the in between episodes to
No, when I rewatched it, although like when I actually watched it, season 1 all the way through, which I've not watched season 2, but you have. But when I watched season 1 all the way through, what I was amazed, I knew that moment was going to work because it shockingly caught me. But slightly before that, when Horse is having to finally has the opportunity to get what she's wanted the entire season, which is to go through the rift and try and get back to Ryder. She promises her friends that when she finds Ryder, she'll pop back through and tell them that she's okay.
Right.
And it really also worked. Like this annoying gang of weirdos who don't get smarter or better. They're the same people pretty much the whole time. Wammawink grows a little bit, but
sure.
But it really worked to believe this bond of like where Horse, who did not want to acclimate to this world, now actually knows that she'll miss it. She'll miss her friends here.
She gets to be vulnerable here in a way that her previous world didn't. She was she's a hardened badass from the other world.
I felt the skulls crushed beneath my hooves, and I want more.
Don't you guys want to get more out of this than just this dome? Like to be out and free? Yeah. Don't you want to feel the skulls of your enemies go underneath your hooves? Whoa,
what?
Wait,
hey, what?
No, wait,
yeah.
wait, no, wait.
Man, so everybody in Centaurworld obviously breaks into song all the damn time and is silly and crazy and everything. And at the start, Horse, like you get these beautiful kind of Disney type duets where Horse is singing a counter song that's more serious against Wammawink's silly song. And Horse's song is like, and the skulls under my hooves and the dragon and the war, and I won't be, this is great. I want more death. Like it and like you could, that's great. Like that all works great. But then as it goes, Horse slowly realizes that all these people are just going to break into song. It's just going to happen.
Right.
And the quickest way to get through it is hijack their song and stop. And so there's a lot of like, I hear you singing a song. We don't have time for that. Can we quit that song? Like,
well, so Centaurworld operates in a way that is kind of delightful in like an adventure time way of that. It doesn't really have to make sense. It doesn't really track even 100% of what a centaur is.
No, because like some people have necks.
The trees are also centaur shaped. Like they have bodies.
Yes, there's a ficus tar.
Gregory, Geggery. I think is
Geffrey.
Geffrey, is that his name? They're all named one letter different.
Yes, Geffrey.
Zulius is the zebra tar.
Derpleton,
yeah.
Geffrey, I think is the ficus.
You do look like a person from that silhouette. And yeah, Derpleton is the giraffe. Ched is the bird tar, is the bird one, the really small one that hates horses. And of course, there's Glendale, who is my absolute favorite klepto horse, because they all have. So everyone in Centaurworld has magic. You all can cast spells. Everyone just doesn't have the same control over it as, say, shamans or like their wizards. Because Zulius can mess with his hair. Derpleton can shoot little squinkies from his eyes, and Birdtar can make his face look handsome for 8 seconds. It was very specific. But Glendale can make a portal on her tummy that she puts things in and just steals everything that isn't bolted down. Oh, jeez.
Gebry. Yes. Fred Armisen is Splendib. Flulaborg is Comfortable Dog.
Is Comfortable Dog.
The Moltars.
Moltars, yeah.
So even the leaves are awake and sentient. Like almost every time Horse tries to sit down and feel sorry for herself, like she almost crushes like, you monster. And there's like a leaf holding a little leaf.
Which Glendale then steals.
Glendale steals food out of Horse's mouth at one point and shoves it in her stomach.
Sorry. It's just taking that which does not belong to me makes me feel so alive.
Oh my God. And Glendale there is no lesson about not stealing, particularly.
Oh no. Well, I mean,
I was definitely taking that key because it seemed like it would be useful to our quest later, and not because not because stealing
makes me feel alive.
Yeah, not because it makes me feel alive. Yeah. And this show is
they go to the
whimsical and weird and yet a little dark. And
well, they go to the tree shamans, and the tree shamans have like Wammawink has a PTSD like shutdown flashback that they have to go in and solve in that episode.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's and again it furthers the plot, like, oh, the bad guys were also here at one point, like the Minotaur army, because the Minotaurs are the bad guys, you know.
Well,
and they're the ones with human bottoms and animal tops. Right. Like
and you realize real quick that like the happy-go-lucky Centaur world that you see at the very, very start is inside a protective bubble Wammawink is keeping
yes
going. And that there has been a real war here. Not the same as the human world. They closed the rift and most of the war took place on our side.
Well, Wammawink's llama tars, she's the last one.
Yeah.
She's the last.
Yeah. When they meet the collector, there's just a pile of dead llama tars in his little diorama.
So there's a lot of hidden darkness to the story that's around, because, you know, that PTSD episode is in the shaman, like the tree shamans are like, hey, we give you what you need, not what you want.
Yeah, it's a wishing.
So it's like a wishing
stump that you stand on, but it doesn't give you what you want.
So
what you need.
So they don't so a lot of it is just hut up with people doing random shit, trying to figure out the rule. I do like that they try and figure out the rule system before Horse gets on it. Like,
yes.
Okay, I got to figure out how it works before I commit to this.
Well, Ched hates horses and becomes
a horse. Like, well, he definitely didn't want to become a horse, but maybe he needed to become a horse to get over his hatred for horses.
Yeah.
Even though that doesn't happen. Like,
no.
The more I watch,
he does enjoy getting to kick the shit out of that tree.
They do kick that tree to death. Like,
they kick that tree to death. The other tree.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Covering up. Yeah.
Because it's one of those things of like, man, don't you just hate the all-knowing magical wizard character that like, oh, but the prophecy says this, or but you didn't know it said like that cute by half.
Right.
And so I love that Horse is like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna kick you to death, you bitch.
Right.
You didn't help my friend.
And at first it's like, oh my god, what have you done? But it reverses all the spells.
Yeah, it does. It
like,
solves their problem.
It solves their problem. Like Ched goes back to being normal. They all go, like, everything gets fixed.
No, Horse nailed it.
Yeah, right. Just man. So like, I had a blast watching. I'm looking forward to watching season 2 because I had a blast watching this, and I couldn't believe how well every moment landed, and yet how like silly and weird and fun all the little choices were. Because like it is silly to the to the back corners. There's so much weird shit happening.
Well, also the running jokes they carry forward.
Yeah.
Like Gary, the skeleton.
Yeah.
Like
his cakes are great.
Like what? Like they're in a jail, and of course, Ched should be able to get through the. I love that she just gives up on the explanation too. Like Ched, why are you even in the cell? Why are you even in your cell? Well, I'm not in my cell. I'm in Gary's cell. That's not
that.
Fuck
that
you.
Makes my point.
Like, just go out and get the keys. You.
Like, oh, I couldn't do that.
And it's silly enough to where some of the plot stuff, it gets away with some plot holes of like, yeah, why doesn't the bird they're all magical. How are they being held in prison in the first place?
No, I feel like there's a lot of like, they're just staying in prison because they think it's a fun game. Then this is what we're doing.
Yeah, which another show would get knocked for.
Right.
You know, that doesn't make sense. But because Centaurworld only makes so much sense at any given moment, they get away with a lot.
Like, oh god, they follow the Rainbow Road down a hole. And like, well, no, the last time we went down a hole, it was really bad. We went off of the Rainbow Road and we went down a hole and it was bad. And like, well, this time we're staying on the Rainbow Road,
right?
Going down the hole. I'm like, oh,
well, that's totally different. That episode's called Holes Part 2 when it's the previous episode was just
not shown. Yeah, like, oh, yeah. I enjoyed the crap out of this. There's only 2 seasons and it came out in 2021.
Megan Nicole Dong is the creator.
Yes, she's also Glendale.
Yeah, that makes sense. Glenda's just a weird voice. Apparently, it is about her experiencing America as a Asian woman growing up, and the otherness that you feel. I also like that she's not the weird, silly one. Then if we take that metaphor, then she's Horse, and America feels like a weird random system that doesn't make any sense with crazy people in it. And I'm like, oh, normally, yeah, that's a really great showing like if you picture Centaur world, like normally America is like the mundane like metaphor.
No,
Centaur world is then like
we're all frivolous silly billies. Yeah.
Yeah, and man, that would not have hit with me 10 years ago as much as it does now of like,
Right.
nope, yep, growing up must have been insane for you. I'm sorry you had to be here.
Right.
During this time, like we're
It also really hits in terms of the first generation acclimation kind of metaphor of your parents no longer recognizing you as
because Horse has to change so much during it. Like her hair changes. And then
first her hair
body-
becomes a little bit curly and not as angular. Then her body becomes more of a My Little Pony-ish kind of thing.
And there's that loss of self-identity that when she first sees Ryder.
I guess I can just point at things now.
It really hits that fear of I've seen a lot of prestige shows not get their point across this well.
No,
as far
this
as
show really gets that across to me.
Making you feel the fear of not just not belonging, the fear of belonging, of acclimation to the point of your previous life being unrecognizable. And I don't know, I thought it really came out of nowhere and surprised me with how heartfelt and good it felt at one point. And man, in season 2 they do a flip on that where there's a point where where Horse needs Ryder to trust her and back her, even though it's insane and like, I need you to like have my back on this and trust me. And Ryder lets her down in a way that it hurt me to watch it. Like,
damn.
It hurt in a way of like, oh, it reminded me when someone I was close to didn't believe in me or didn't or let me down in a way it hit me in a
I've apologized, man.
it hit in a personal
hurtful.
way. Like, I know, but one more wouldn't hurt you. Comfortable, Les. How comfortable are you now?
Every time the Moltars touch somebody, they leave sweat on them. And oh my god, it's so fucked up.
Fueleborg might be like this. Like, they realize how much of like he comes in at the last episode to just sing a song like right before they're about to leave and Jeffrey, I know life must be hard as a vegetable, but tell me, are you comfortable? None of us are comfortable until we are all comfortable.
Oh man, the Moltars are amazing.
I feel like Fueleborg makes a living just like going into a booth or in front of a camera and just like, hey, just say nonsense.
Yeah, no, he's got his shtick down and he just shows up and does it.
Like, how often do you think Fueleborg understands what he's reading on his script?
Like, I'm scared to think all the time. Like he just walks out and like kicks his foot out straight like Kaiser Soze, gets in a cab and goes away.
Yeah, they even do like a take on, they come back in and like the Friends logo pops up when all our friends return, and like Zulius can stop time like a
break the fourth wall testimonial.
Only it burns a horse when
it makes everyone else that freezes burn.
They shoot little versions of themselves out of their hooves. and like that's one of the powers that they all things can do that. That's baseline.
And they feel no responsibility for this.
And so
every one of the little creatures wakes up and has sentience.
Wake up and have sentience. What am I? Why do I exist? And screams and then runs away. And Horse, like the first time Horse sees it, she's shook. She's like, "What the fuck was that? What was that? Where did it go? Oh, we don't know.
We don't know.
We never know.
I never know." But and then
they
after
pop back up.
like after saying that of like, "Oh, we never know." Every time someone pops one like does it, everyone else is like, "Oh yeah." And like just shoots like 20 or 30 of them and like they all run off and like, all right, well, moving on.
The existential horror and that pops back up like the Gary skeleton, like who the last person who used magic in my courtroom was? Gary. Well, I mean, I knew a Gary once. It couldn't be the same guy as is that why Gary's dead? Yeah, I traded you for some cake. Like, to Gary?
That's right.
As canon going forward, Gary makes great cakes. I don't know how. He's a skeleton.
You don't know how, but just, look away, look back, good cake.
But the Nowhere King is also a great antagonist. The
Dude,
song they sing,
he's creepy as balls. His song is creepy.
Well, they sing his song 3 times, like 2 times before he shows up, and you're like, "What is this crazy song? Who are they talking about?"
Right.
Hush now, hide all you little ones, rush now into the middle of nowhere. Singing and laughter will die. You will bring joy to the nowhere king when he sees the light leaving your eyes.
You know, it's children singing this song in a kind of cute way, but they are talking about, you know, you'll bring joy to the nowhere king
When the light goes out in your
leaves
eyes.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Like it pretends like that this villain is the being villainous is the end goal. Like he just enjoys suffering, and he's creepy looking. He's scary. Like him and like the. I also liked the place they are is in the middle, between 2 worlds,
Mhm.
and so nowhere is in the middle. And it's like normally, I wanted at somebody to realize that the middle is the nowhere king, and like no, you thought the nowhere king was in the middle. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Like I couldn't believe no one brought that back into it.
I'm looking through who the additional people are. So like Fred Armisen is Splendib, the tiger centaur
Mhm.
that they meet. We've also got Tony Hale is
Yeah,
Durpleton. He's Durpletoot.
That's right.
So Josh Radnor, Ted from
Josh
How I Met
Radnor
Your
is
Mother, is
Durpleton.
Durpleton.
He's Durpletoot.
And Durpleton wishes, or what he needs from the tree
Mhm.
shaman is for his farts to say something. So his butt talks because he
Yeah.
farts all the time,
Mhm.
but it never says anything positive about
Right.
him or encouraging.
Mhm.
And so now his toots. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Do you know? I suppose you don't know yet that those toots are actually in a character's voice.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
like, and I don't think you've met that character yet, though.
No.
But-
So he's Durpletoot. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that, and I think he's also
Tony Durpleton, Durpleton's father. Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
why it has a voice. So his farts have the voice of
Mhm,
his dad
mhm.
to heal his childhood trauma.
yes.
Yep. The
Sorry, spoiler.
that's the tree shamans themselves are voiced by First Aid Kit, which is a band that's actually them on the poster on my wall right there.
Oh wow! All right.
That's the tree shamans. I've seen them live fucking 3 or 4 times. They're fucking great. Paul F. Tompkins is Horse's tail that
yes.
does stand-up comedy bits.
Her tail becomes sentient. It's baby's first spell, and they do a whole purity song about it.
It's the main event. Oh my God, he does all these fucking horsetail puns that are amazing.
The
David Johansen, so the the cab driver in Scrooged. What floor?
oh wow, yeah,
That's Bertar.
awesome. Yeah, Bertar is the lore. I like that the collectionist is the one where we get all lore dump for.
Oh my God, yeah. There's the voice cast is great. It's a great mix of just fun voice cast people you might recognize, like Fred Armisen, and then classics like Fred Tatasciore.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like people that are just classic, got to be in every cartoon by law.
So also the yeah, like you said, a lot of the characters don't really grow and change. Like it's Horse's journey. They're just along for the ride. Although Wammawink does have a significant
There's
character
they don't
arc.
like at the start we find out that Wammawink has been to a shaman school,
Yeah.
but isn't a shaman.
No.
And so like there's a little bit of a story there, and like Water Baby gives her some shit about like
Mhm.
why did why aren't you
Well, all
doing
the
the real
shamans
magic?
don't seem to have an idea of what a job of being a shaman is.
No, Water Baby's the most proactive.
Well, man, they do an episode with Whaletar.
Mm-hmm.
Man, also known as the Last Shaman. I don't know why. And her episode is really impactful as far as this cliff where
she's a pier that you can jump into the sea.
Yeah, and man, her song of like, it's nice to meet you, it's nice to greet you, it'll also be nice to you. Well, we'll get to that part later.
Yeah.
Like the rhyming of the song is portending what.
Yeah.
Like if you're paying attention, you know what's about
and she's
to go
constantly crying, but but
she feels the sorrow of everyone.
Yeah.
in her like
and like she's not joking when we see the world inside her of like her belly where all these people are living that she's eaten. They're all in like a mindless cruise ship Congo line kind of thing.
they're not exactly happy, but they're not sad
No.
either. They don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And man, that
it was scary.
so man,
That touched on a depression kind of
I know.
thing.
So you and me in particular, I knew it was going to hit you too. Of that, man. Whenever
That's a seductive fucking
the
darkness there.
The desire to feel nothing is it generally, it was generally one of the scary, like you said, like every once in a while, like, God damn, dude, this is a kid's show.
Well,
this
and
is
that Whale Tar kind of comes to realize like
that she is.
Oh damn!
I
I thought I was helping them.
Well, it's a whole, like, again, to the metaphor, like I didn't realize, like, showing them there's another option,
Right. Like I was trying to smooth off all of life's rough edges, and that's what this is what that looks like.
Well, even Murdude is trying to help.
Oh my god!
But he's doing it the wrong way.
There's a Murdude running an amusement park, like a Coney Island, right next to the jump off point, and he's so bummed out that like I keep trying to give people rides and games and entertainment, and everybody still chooses the whale.
He helps me. He's trying to help out in a way that reminds me of like my mom or other people who've not suffered with depression try and help people with depression, which is, here's a fun thing to do. Here, aren't you happy? Here's a thing to distract you.
No,
here's a fun,
similar to how Inside Out like gut punched me with a like. But here's a happy memory. Don't you remember? Like, God damn it, stop handing me those.
Right, and
I'm gonna ruin them right now.
And like Wammawink having to come down and the
holes.
And once you, like, when you've been down there and you felt nothing, and then you come out of it and you realize what that was, and like I've had those moments in my life, and they are scary moments.
Yeah.
They are like, it's a bad place. And then when you do realize afterwards, like, oh, if I had thought I would have done anything else if I thought there was, like, so Whale Tar has that, that realization, and then gets them to the final.
Yeah,
the
here,
rift.
take my piece of the key here.
Gets them to the final rift, and then has to like back out. Like, if you could just like not look at me, this next part is. I also love that the woman, the human mage, she makes she tries to keep making exits, and yet Zulius is like, oh man, that was a pretty. Nope, there she is. She keeps. Like Gina from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like a big disappearance. Only nope, that's just to get her to the boat, and she's rowing away now, which is not as dramatic.
Right. She makes such great. Nope, there she is.
But man, she's a running character too that you don't know a lot about. But she gets a knockdown, drag out song that like nothing good is meant to last. That is
brutal,
and she gets a moment with the Nowhere King that. Man, I'm in Zulius's corner of like, I know we're all about to die here, but those two have some history, and I really I will die if I don't hear it. You'll die if you stay here. But I was in. I'm like, no, it reads as these two have a history, and I am deeply curious about it. The second season, while I think is pacing wise, it's 8 episodes instead of 10, so I think they also might have needed an extra 2 episodes. They have a great running storyline with the parallels now that Water Baby and Ryder are in the real, or in the, not the real world, but their world, and like Centaurworld is real, it's not fake. So you haven't heard the Ballad of Becky Apples yet.
No, I've not.
Well, Les, let me tell you, Ryder has to have when they're in their world. What do you think? How do you think Ryder's going to get around in their world without horse? She needs another horse.
Oh shit!
And so the Ballad of Becky Apples is born.
Oh my god!
And it gets back to horse. Like, oh, okay. I don't know who. I even know a cursory idea. I just know Becky's the fucking worst.
It's great. I'm looking through the secondary cast list, and it looks like they did a similar thing to what Crazy Ex-Girlfriend did. Like some of this cast is actually shared. Donna Lynn Champlin is one of the cast members, but that show pulled an outlandish amount of Broadway stars.
Yes,
and or Broadway singers and Broadway performers, because you get people who can both do expressive voice acting to the back row and then sing. And so like it looks like a good mix of like folks with Broadway experience or Paul F. Tompkins, Maria Bamford type stand-up comics.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's a good choice because the voice acting it doesn't have the kind of voice cast that makes you go, holy shit, Trolls movie, what kind of money did you drop?
Yeah.
Or Emoji movie. But it has the kind of voice cast that I would think you would sensibly want if you want across the board aces performances that really stand out.
Well, from what I can look online, this is
I assume it's just universally beloved.
well, I don't just think a lot of people hadn't seen it. It does have some good scores. It's just I don't think it has I think it has 8 reviews on IMDb.
Right. No, people just have not watched it.
And I really highly recommend watching it.
I have already recommended this to a couple of people.
Megan Nicole Dong. I was looking at it. I don't think she's done a lot before this. This feels like a deeply personal project that she launched with her production company. And I have got to tip my hat to her, and I hope this isn't the only story in you.
Right.
I thought it really connected, and I want to see even if not more Centaurworld, I want to see what you do next. I want to see more animation, really. I just think that's
so she's worked as a storyboard artist and storyboard artist looks like on Captain Underpants movie. Pants. Captain Underpants first epic movie.
That you gave him some extra respect because of his captain rank.
The Adventures of Puss in Boots TV series, How to Train Your Dragon 2.
So she's been deeply involved in animation for a while.
She's been in the art department for some bigger budget stuff.
But this is her first creative
staff writer, storyboard artist, show creator, showrunner. This is her baby.
I want to see more from her. I think that's
this has a Pendleton. Who is it that runs Adventure Time? I
was gonna say that, or
this or Steven Universe. This has a no, I want more from. Was it Rebecca Sugar?
Rebecca Sugar's Steven Universe. Yeah.
This has its own vibe and tone, and it's not just that it's silly and absurd and fun. All kids shows are. It's the way it makes the choices and the line it walks in terms of how dark, how weird, how goofy to get.
Well, I think children's animation has a higher responsibility. Maybe it's my own personal thing, but I got a lot of my moral system comes from cartoons I watched as a kid. I learned about bravery from Powerpuff Girls. I learned about family from Ninja Turtles. There's a level, and in watching Centaurworld, I'm like, this is a way for kids to learn about depression and identity and
to not be scared that you're changing.
And the world around you changing, and you to grappling with the changes yourself.
Well, even if you don't have the Asian American experience part of this going for you, I would still relate to this just in any kid. You're changing, you're learning new stuff every day, you're becoming a different person, you're deciding who you are, who you'll be, what you're going to be like, and it is hard across growing up to lose friends to that, not for any reason than you just grew apart in an okay way, but that is terrifying. And I felt like this show, before I read any of the backstory or knew any of the backstory of the creator, just watching the show and going, yeah, when I was a kid, it was just scary to wonder if you didn't see your friends for the summer. And then
Would you still be friends?
Are you still friends? Yeah.
In the same way I'm jealous of kids that are growing up with My Adventures for Superman as their Superman.
Right. I'm jelly of kids who got this instead of Transformers, man.
I think I would love to. I think if I was a child experiencing this, I think I even love it even more.
Absolutely.
Which is saying something, because I really like it now.
I have not watched season 2 yet, but I can already tell you I'd like a third.
Yes.
How did Netflix not do this in their 3 and done system?
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's good that it got to finish out its story. But there's the same way, kind of like in Korra season 4, where obviously hey, that one clip show episode kind of messed up with the pacing. The second season is 8 episodes, and it feels like Man, some
Should
of
be
this
10 like one. Yeah.
Well, like the last two are just the Nowhere King lore drop, which I mean, it's a big story that feels like, yeah, we probably should have revealed some of this,
Right.
and then had a cliffhanger about. There's a distinct point where you'll find that, oh, here's an amount of his backstory we could have had, and then we could have cliffhangered on that, and then this third season could have been about finding out the second part of his backstory.
Right.
You'll see what I'm talking about, but
Well, I would recommend everybody go watch that.
absolutely,
It's on Netflix. All those docs are on Netflix. Just get yourself a free trial of Netflix.
we did do Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't really mean
this
to
week.
lock it into
we
that.
did not
but,
mean to. Yeah, just
But- let's see. Next week, I will still be out. We're gonna do another pre-record where we're going to discuss, I think, a little bit of Terminator Zero,
yeah, it'll be
also on Netflix.
it'll be a little minute since it's come out, so hopefully the discourse will not have like totally cooled off, but it will give less enough time to get it watched, and very excited to talk about that.
Indeed.
Chaos, I was going to talk about.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about
I was just gonna
Netflix's
do that
other new
I'm
offering.
going to talk that on Diaries.
Yeah, that'll
Don't
be
worry
our
about
little bit
that.
of a diary discussion. There will be some chaos. Jeff Goldblum, Greek gods, and yeah, I think that'll about wrap it up for us this week. Tune in next week, and until next time,
I am comfortable, Nick.
comfortable.
Contemplative, Nick.
Comfortable less.
TV towards ours.
You know, I've always been called Comfortable Doug because that's my name. But recently, I became Comfortable Doug. And I want to share with you all that you could be comfortable as well. Jeffrey, I know life is hard as a vegetable, but are you comfortable?
I'm not a vegetable. I'm a tree. And I'm not comfortable. I'm cold.
Well, if you had a jacket, you would be. Otherwise... Okay, look, don't get weird on me with details. My point is, none of us are comfortable until we are all...